Okay, thanks for joining us. We are going to talk about cooperatives in Ontario, the cooperative structure, well, Co-ops 101. We're the Ontario Cooperative Association. I'm Erin Morgan, Executive Director of the Ontario Cooperative Association, and with me is Peter Cameron, our co-op developer, co-op development manager, and he is going to jump in and do half the slides along with me. So this is what we're going to talk about today, an understanding of the cooperative movement and cooperatives in Ontario. And I know that people who are listening in today are thinking about starting a business, or maybe already have started a business. And when we talk about starting a business, we ask this question: why are you starting a business? And a lot of people say profit is the reason to start a business. However, capitalism quickly becomes an issue in the world in which we work, which is usually the social space. And we start running into things like it's a dog-eat-dog world and just business. You're talking about dragon's dens and minding your own business. And business is business. All of this language makes you wonder, does it have to be this way? Does business have to be capitalistic, and do businesses always have to have this dog-eat-dog purpose? And when we talk about capitalism and sole proprietorships, we really view them as islands unto themselves. They're autonomous and independent, and there's not a lot tying them together unless they operate in a specific sector or business that has some affiliations. But there's nothing really driving them to be socially engaged. And what if you're starting a social enterprise? What happens when you want your business to have a social purpose, but you put it onto this capitalist structure? You end up with a business model that's socially minded, yet has this challenge of existing in this dog-eat-dog competitive world. And what happens when you have second generations of shareholders or management who didn't found that business and didn't set it up for its social purpose? And what if you start having pressures to make more money? What can happen is your social purpose can be pushed off the island in favor of business practices that reduce costs or make the company more money. And there's no business structure, if you choose the traditional business model, there's no business structure that protects this social purpose. And we know that the business environment is changing. Technology is making business very transparent. And 87% of millennials believe the success of business should be measured in terms of more than just its financial performance. 48% of Canadians are only $200 away from being financially insolvent, which is frightening. And the bottom 50% of the Canadian population have their hands on only 6% of their wealth. And we're looking at the future of Ontario not being so bright if 40% of jobs can be lost to automation within the next decade. And we know that 5% of people believe only 5% of people believe that corporations do right by the consumers that they serve. And 85% of employees' morale sharply declines after they start in one of these capitalistic structures. And only 10% of people have trust and confidence that business is behaving ethically. So all of this points to the need for a social purpose, but the capitalist model doesn't fit. So what is the answer? We believe tomorrow needs us. It's time to enter the cooperative era. The world we seek begins with the essentials of a safe and decent life being made available to everyone. People aren't asking for much. Food, shelter, stable work, and time with those we love. Those basic needs bind and identify us as human beings. And if we were to cooperate, they would be within the reach of us all. Cooperatives believe choices that benefit the most people are the best ones. Tomorrow needs us. It's time to enter the cooperative era.
The co-op movement actually is based on a triple bottom line, not just one principle. We actually have 7 principles. We like to sort of condense it into people, planet, and profit, but there actually are 7 international principles, and they're aligned with the values of today's consumer. And, you know, a lot of millennials in particular want to be proud of their organization's work. And they look at wanting to do good as well as to make some money and talking about the triple bottom line. So what are those 7 principles that we work by? The first one, oh, sorry. So here we now do have to edit. I thought this was,
there we go.
Yeah. Voluntary and open membership. No one can force you to join a co-op. It's a business structure that is based on the needs of consumers and the members. They determine what will happen and what service or product they want. It's democratically controlled. One member, one vote. If democracy is so good, why don't we have economic democracy? And who benefits from the particular business and or service? It's about member economic participation. They control it democratically, and they benefit from whatever the service or product is. It can be a nonprofit, it can be for-profit, and again, it's about the members who control it, benefit. And it's independent. A co-op can actually own other types of businesses, but a private business obviously can't control or own a co-op. We believe in education, training, and information. We want all our members to benefit from the organization, learn how to improve and excel in the business, and so education for managers, employees, and members is very important to the co-op principles. And principle number 6, very important, cooperation amongst co-ops. It's been shown that in terms of an economic system where we are more connected, that all the businesses thrive. And so we believe in cooperation amongst cooperatives. And the last one, which has been around for years but was just added in actually in 1995, is concern for community. And that, you know, really goes to the core of serving the members and the community. So how many co-ops are actually in Ontario? Our latest stats show around, actually it says 1,300, but we think it's more like 1,500 now. And they are, you know, mainly 45% approximately are in the housing cooperatives, 17% in financial and childcare, 6% are agricultural, and then in the other category, that can be everything from renewable energy to worker co-ops to platform cooperatives, social co-ops, healthcare co-ops, a real variety. There is a co-op for any service or product you can name. We have a co-op for that. Now, how do we stack up against other corporations and the other corporate model? Well, the Quebec government actually did a long-term study to show that after 1, 5, and 10 years, the survival rate of cooperatives was double private business. And we argue, of course, that those principles and member engagement are key to the survival, that if people own a piece of the pie or it's a store in their community, that they will patronize it. And if that happens, then the chances of survival are that much greater. Here's some examples of co-ops. You might recognize some of these names. The Co-operators Insurance is very popular. Several credit unions, the wonderful chocolate bar fair trade organic co-op, La Siembra, the Camino brand you might have seen. One of the oldest cooperatives in Ontario is Vineland Growers, and then it's followed by the second oldest is the Guelph Campus Cooperative. I'm sure other people have seen Co-op Cabs, Growmark, FS, it's big agricultural co-ops. There, and I'll keep repeating it, there is a co-op for just about any service or product you can think of. The credit unions in particular, a lot of people don't realize that they are cooperative banks, and they're very successful. The other key, as I mentioned earlier, is that in principle number 6, cooperation amongst co-ops. The co-op movement is very connected, and it's an interrelated family. It's the same business model. It provides commonalities for governance and operational issues, but operating in different interests and sectors for diversity. But that's part of the strength of the co-op movement, that based on the 7 principles and supporting and responding to members and community needs, we are a very strong movement and a strong model.
So what is a cooperative and how does it work, now that we've piqued your interest? This is the basic cooperative structure. Now, it looks similar to a traditional business structure. If you replace the members at the top with shareholders, then it would be very similar. However, the difference comes in that instead of shareholders, we have members. And as Peter already mentioned when speaking about the cooperative principles, the members economically participate in the business. So these can be your customers or your farmers. Depending on the type of the co-op that you have, these could also be the workers. And so they sit at the top because they're the most important people in the entire cooperative. They're the reason that you created a cooperative in the first place, because the members had a need and the business of the cooperative fulfills that need. The members themselves get together, usually once a year at an annual meeting, and they elect a board of directors to represent them. Each cooperative gets to decide how many members are on their board and the type of work that their board specifically does. But overall, the goal is that the board of directors leads the vision, the strategic vision of the organization, and hires the most senior staff person, the executive director or the CEO. And then that executive director is responsible for the management and the staff underneath them. But the key piece here, and what differentiates a cooperative from a traditional business structure that you're used to seeing, is that CEO, that board of directors, and all of those staff have a responsibility to deliver value back to that member network at the top. And so it's a closed loop, a continuous circle, where the members direct the vision and the goals of the organization, the staff carry it out for the purpose of delivering value back to those members. There are a number of different structures depending on who those members are. So you can have a consumer or a service cooperative, where the members are the customers who purchase from the co-op. So this is how Mountain Equipment Co-op works. When you first shopped at Mountain Equipment Co-op, you bought a $5 membership. That means that you actually have the ability to provide your input into how their business works, into the products that they carry, into the way that the store is designed. However, you can go to the annual meeting that happens every year, and you could even get elected to their board of directors if you have that $5 membership. The next type of co-op is a producer co-op. This is typically an agricultural co-op model, where the farmers who sell to the co-op are the members of the co-op. So in this case, one of the examples we have is Gailey Foods Cooperative, which is a dairy cooperative in Ontario. The dairy farmers own the co-op, hire the management that sells the milk and the butter that they produce, and then returns the profits back through the membership to the business. The members decide how the profits get spent. And then we have the worker co-op. This is where the members are the employees of the cooperative. A good example for us is London Brewing Co-op. We enjoy working with these guys. They're a group of 3 guys who started a brewery, and that now the number of employees has grown, I believe, to 5 or 6. But they collectively started a business, and they make all the decisions about the business, including which one of them is going to manage the day-to-day work and who's going to do the finances. But they decide for themselves how the business gets run, and they choose amongst themselves who's going to be on their board of directors. In the case of a financial co-op, this is very much a consumer co-op, but I put it in as a separate model because this is how credit unions and insurance companies work, cooperative insurance companies. The main difference between a financial cooperative and a consumer cooperative is just the government oversight. But a credit union like Libro Credit Union in Southwestern Ontario is actually a not-for-profit company. Most people don't know this. It's owned by the people who use their banking services, and the profits that the credit union makes go back into either the community or improving the business services for their members. And the members can decide things like the fees that they pay, or how the credit union is structured to offer them the best products and services available. And then there's a multi-stakeholder cooperative, which combines the different other groups. And a good example of this is West End Food Co-op in Toronto. They have customer members, they have producer members, the farmers who deliver the product to the grocery store are members, and their employees are members. And this means that the entire, like all the business of the cooperative grocery store is controlled by the many groups and balanced by the many groups who own it. So as Peter already talked about, the biggest, the most important thing about cooperatives is the fact that it's member-owned and organized, so that the business function of the co-op is the activities that meet the needs of the members, and it's a completely democratic organization. And each member has one vote to decide how the business is carried out. So the role of a member is to shop at the co-op or patronize the co-op in some way, agree with or help form those vision, mission, and values, attend the annual meeting and vote, elect the board of directors, and then, you know, if it's the type of organization that thrives on volunteerism, it's a good opportunity to get involved and volunteer. If you're involved in the corporate governance, this is the processes and structures that guide the board of directors and the staff. It's the governance model gets put in place at the beginning when the cooperative is being formed, and this is your bylaws and policies, and this is how you make decisions as an organization. And when you put these in place, you put them in place with the guidance of your membership. And so these policies and bylaws decide how decisions are made, how operations are carried out, how the co-op's resources are used. The bylaws and policies ensure that you're following the cooperative principles and values, and also your own purpose-driven vision, mission, and values. And then the board of directors, they hire and monitor and evaluate the CEO. They ensure that the cooperative is following that governance and operational model. They continue to update policies as the business grows or changes. They provide financial oversight. They continuously look at all of the business that the cooperative is taking on from a risk management perspective, and they ensure that the cooperative is following their legal and fiduciary responsibilities. And also the board of directors ensures that the members are staying engaged with the ongoing business of the organization, and they ensure that there are a succession plan in place for all of the key roles within the cooperative.
So it's interesting that cooperatives have a long history. It's not a new model. It's been over 150 years that it started. We like to say that the key was Rochdale near Manchester, England, in 1844. And really what was happening, it was a company-run town, and they had the company-run store. And the people were tired of paying high prices for poor quality goods. So they said, we can do this ourselves. And they got together, they contributed, and each put in a few pounds each. and they started their own consumer co-op. And it was very successful, and within 10 years, there were hundreds of these type of consumer co-ops spread throughout England. In Ontario, the concept spread, and between, so in the 40s and 60s, a lot of credit unions started because farmers and down east also couldn't get access to capital, so they created their own credit unions. It's like, if the banks won't lend you, we'll start our own. Housing is a key issue today. In the 70s and 80s, with government support, there was a boost to starting cooperative housing. People got together and they created sustainable housing, and with the support of the credit union movement, they developed good quality, affordable housing. In the 90s, we're now seeing an increase in the other issues that require support: social services, energy, renewable energy, transportation. There's incredible opportunity for developing co-ops in healthcare and in, as I said, energy. And there's another topic that we'll get into later around platform cooperatives. So it's a good model. It's a proven model. It's been around for over 150 years. It has a success rate that is double the private business. So, you know, what is it that we can do to further the model? We are the Ontario Co-operative Association. Our role is to promote the cooperative movement. We are the voice of cooperatives in Ontario. We advocate for the cooperative principles, and, you know, as my job is to help start and support existing co-ops. Government advocacy, we're working right now with the provincial government to try to modernize the cooperative legislation and actually help government fulfill its mandate by providing solutions. We unify the co-op movement, and we're basically trying to build on principle number 6, cooperation amongst co-ops, and have a common branding message, and helping to get our members to work together and promote the model. We recognize that part of the reason the co-ops aren't as well known as they should be is the lack of education. So we're working very strongly with colleges and universities to promote the model. We have a co-op young leaders camp. Really, it's a leadership initiative, and it's been around for over 50 years, and we are promoting that. And also in schools, we have a financial literacy and a cooperative education program called All for Each. I speak regularly at various organizations, and every time people hear about the model and the triple bottom line approach, they love it, and they go, why haven't we heard about this before? If someone comes to OCA and requires help setting up a co-op, we have a trove of information, and we can provide them with business planning supports. We can help them with incorporation. We can help them with the bylaws. We can do all the things that are necessary to help a social enterprise or a for-profit cooperative start. And we also are working with the small business enterprise centers so that they learn more about the cooperative model and can help people wherever they are in Ontario. We also, again, encourage them to join the OCA network, and we help with them in terms of their ability to support their members, be it training for governance, communication, marketing, whatever it requires. We have the information, or we know who can help provide that. Some opportunities, as I mentioned earlier, for future development of co-ops. There's a real opportunity in the healthcare issue because of the demographic, the retiring boomers. There is a need for senior support and healthcare in general. Housing, as I mentioned earlier, very key issue. If you solve the housing issue, you solve so many other issues. Platform cooperatives. That, people are talking about Uber, they're talking about TaskRabbit and various forms of platform platforms. But where does the money go? Where does the profits go? It goes to the people who develop the app, goes to Silicon Valley. Well, why not start your own platform business in a cooperative, democratic fashion so that the money actually goes back to the people who perform the business? In the case of Uber, there are many taxi cab co-ops that have formed their own apps, and the profits are going back to the people who actually do the work. And so platform co-ops, I think we're going to see something, an explosion of those in the future as people realize that they can get together and provide a service and create jobs and operate on a triple bottom line model, and that is using the co-op model.
Okay, so we hope we whetted your appetite to learn more about cooperatives, and we hope that this has piqued your interest, and we hope that you will reach out to us and give us a call. Talk to us about the co-op that you would like to start. We will connect you with resources that you will need to be successful. And we look forward to having many new members from groups that are starting cooperatives and have fantastic new cooperative ideas. So this is our contact information. You can talk to Peter or myself or anyone else in the office for that matter, because we are all really excited to learn more about your cooperative ideas and support your growth. So thank you very much for listening to our presentation, and we hope to meet you soon.